Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that honestly goes way, way beyond administrative paperwork and back office budgets. We're looking at public procurement as a direct driver of human welfare. I mean, think about it. When we talk about how public funds are spent, we're really talking about the physical and social reality of our entire society. The structural integrity of the bridges you drive on every single day, the quality of life-saving medicines in public hospitals, the actual safety of the schools our kids attend. All of these things, they're decided long before a shovel even hits the dirt. They are decided right there at the evaluation table.
But hey, before we get too deep into this, I want to hear from you. In just one word, what value do you think is absolutely the most important in public procurement? Drop a comment below right now, and let's build a massive community word cloud of integrity values together. We'll be featuring your responses in our next post, so for sure get those in.
All right, Section 1, the moral compass. It's super easy to view procurement as this dry, heavily bureaucratic function. But at its core, it's fundamentally an ethical exercise.
Notice exactly how we define integrity in this space. It's the consistent application of honesty, fairness, and impartiality from the very first second a need is identified, all the way to the day a contract is totally wrapped up. In the realm of public spending, integrity is literally the thin, absolutely crucial line between buying what society actually needs and buying what special interests can manipulate. It's the one thing that keeps public spending laser-focused on the public interest rather than private gain.
I really want you to let this sink in. Every ethical procurement decision is an act of public service. Every corrupt procurement decision is an act of public betrayal. This isn't just a tiny administrative oopsie. When the rules are skirted, it's a direct betrayal of public trust. It means taxpayer money is actively being diverted away from the public value it was meant to create.
Moving on to Section 2, Choices of the Few. This brings us to a terrifyingly simple dynamic. The financial scale of government projects is absolutely massive, yet the circle of decision-makers is incredibly small.
Just think about the sheer scale here. You've got this tiny group of officials sitting in a room, hammering out technical specifications or contract terms. But the choices made behind those closed doors directly dictate the public safety, the economic resilience, and the community welfare of an entire sprawling city. The moral choices of a very, very few officials dictate the quality of life for thousands, sometimes even millions of people. We call this the ripple effect. So step 1, that small circle makes a moral choice. They either act with integrity or they compromise. Step 2, that specific choice directly determines the value and quality of the deliverables. Are they demanding true value for money, or are they shrugging and accepting substandard construction? And then step 3, that quality permanently impacts human lives. Guys, it's the difference between a school building standing strong during a natural disaster or suffering a catastrophic structural failure just because someone decided to use cheap, adulterated materials.
Section 3, Integrity versus Corruption. Let's look at the high contrast outcomes of ethical behavior versus the truly devastating human cost of corruption.
When integrity wins out, you get the right contractor doing the work at the right price. We're talking genuine medicines, strong schools, and real, tangible public value for every single peso spent. But when corruption takes over, it literally guarantees substandard services. And it's worse than that. It acts as a regressive tax on the public. When citizens look around at crumbling infrastructure that they paid for, public trust completely evaporates. Plus, when the game is rigged, honest suppliers just throw their hands up and leave the market entirely, which only deepens this vicious cycle of corruption.
The dichotomy we're discussing is stark. It's integrity versus corruption, plain and simple. Structural corruption takes the whole selection driver away from merit and quality and steers it right over a cliff toward personal enrichment. It dilutes the value the public deserves, just to line private pockets. Which leads us to Section 4, Institutionalizing Morality. So how do we actually stop it? Well, relying solely on the individual willpower of officials is a super high-risk strategy. Instead, under the new Government Procurement Act in the Philippines, also known as RA 12009, ethics are actually codified directly into law.
RA 1209 takes these vague, feel-good philosophical concepts and transforms them into practical, enforceable, systemic guardrails. It mandates a formal code of ethics to strictly guide behavior. It brings in advanced analytical tools like life cycle cost analysis. It legally bakes in transparency and public monitoring. And, best of all, it backs the whole thing up with strict liability. Let's zoom in on one of these real quick because it's a total game changer.
So, life cycle cost analysis, or LCCA. Historically, unethical contractors could win bids just by offering the absolute lowest initial price, right? Knowing full well they were going to use terrible, low-quality materials that would fall apart almost immediately. LCCA completely flips the script. It forces the evaluation to consider the total cost of ownership over time, so durability, maintenance, and even disposal. It effectively slams the door on contractors who rely on unethical corner cutting just to win a bid.
Section 5. Red flags and public oversight. Now, even with incredibly strong laws, corrupt practices are often hidden behind some pretty sophisticated smokescreens. Constant vigilance is essential. You've got to know what to look for.
Here are the most common red flags that scream compromised integrity. Notice that very first one, restrictive technical specifications. Remember, moral choices often happen long before a bid even opens. If specs are written so narrowly that only one specific, pre-chosen supplier can possibly win, yeah, that is structural corruption in action. Other huge red flags include splitting massive contracts into tiny pieces just to evade mandatory competitive bidding, or government employees moonlighting as consultants for the exact same firms bidding on their public projects. Total conflict of interest.
And because these red flags can be so hard to spot from the inside, RA 1209 requires public oversight. Civil society organizations, or CSOs, act as independent watchdogs. Transparency requires actual action, which is exactly why these organizations are legally mandated to sit right there in the proceedings, monitor public live streams at bid openings, and make sure every single decision can survive intense public scrutiny.
Now, what happens when the rules actually get broken? The consequences under RA's 12,009 are no joke. Accountability applies to literally everyone, from the head of the procuring entity all the way down to the suppliers. We're talking administrative dismissal, blacklisting suppliers for years, and even criminal prosecution. And crucially, the law allows for civil liability restitution. That means erring officials can literally be forced to personally pay back the government for whatever financial damage their corruption caused. Talk about a deterrent.
Finally, Section 6, people over profit. As we wrap up this whole analysis, we've got to bring it back down to the human element. Systemic guardrails, LCCA, strict sanctions, they're just tools. The ultimate goal is something much, much bigger. Because procurement ethics isn't just about checking boxes or rigidly following admin rules just so you don't get fined. It's a fundamental, deep-seated commitment. It is about choosing people over profit. It's about choosing public service over self-interest and absolute integrity over influence. When procurement officials act as true fiduciaries, when they fiercely protect the integrity of the process, they perform a kind of alchemy, really. They take a dry, line-item budget on a spreadsheet and transform it into safe schools, lasting roads, and a prosperous, thriving reality for the citizens they serve. Every single ethical choice in procurement is a direct vote for a better community.
So I want to leave you with this to ponder. The next time you're driving past a new public project, ask yourself, are your community's funds building resilient, lasting infrastructure? Or are they quietly funding substandard services because someone, somewhere, compromised their ethics? The real-world weight of procurement integrity is literally all around us, every day.
Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Seriously, keep those comments coming for the word cloud. I can't wait to see what you all come up with. Next time, we're going to explore a very specific, very dangerous ethical pitfall, conflict of interest in procurement, the hidden threat that costs communities millions. You absolutely won't want to miss seeing exactly how these hidden threats operate behind the scenes. See you then.